Welcome to the What's Your Dream podcast. Today, we're joined by Lindsey, a homesteader and natural food enthusiast who is about to reopen her farm store, the Mercantile at Moonrise Ridge. Alongside running her store, Lindsey shares her love for sustainable living through her blog, packed with natural food recipes. Today, she'll talk about transforming her dream of an eco-friendly lifestyle into reality, the challenges and rewards of homesteading, and her mission to inspire others with her lifestyle. Whether you're a food lover or someone interested in a simpler way of life, Lindsey's story is sure to inspire. Let's dive in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi.
How are you today?
I'm good, thanks. How are
Thank
you
you
doing?
so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm doing great.
Good.
Can't complain.
Yeah.
All right, you ready for the first question?
I'm ready.
Okay. What is your biggest dream or aspiration?
Well, as a preface, I have to say that this question was much harder to answer than I anticipated. And if you'd asked me 3 years ago, I would have had a canned answer ready to go. But life has changed so much. And I think that it's okay that sometimes it's a moving target, our biggest dream, right? It can change and evolve, and mine certainly has. And so I guess the sort of nebulous answer I came up with is authentic connection, and fostering deep connections within myself, my family, and my community through food and through feeling a sense of belonging, regardless of where you are and who you are, through connecting with nature and to remind us that we are a part of nature, not apart from it. And just kind of grow that, I suppose.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Not apart, but
Yes.
apart.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
A part of, not
Yes.
apart from. Yeah.
Yes, I like
Yeah.
that a lot. Yeah, I think our dreams, I mean, they definitely do change. And I think that through food. So would you say like food is kind of like how you like portray your love language? Like your love language to people is food and
Um,
preparing.
I would say part of it,
Mhm.
yes. Last year was a really hard year, and that part kind of fell by the wayside, honestly. I
Mhm.
was sort of in survival mode, and even for me, someone who's passionate about local food and eating well, you know, when you're in that survival space of like, just have to do what's immediately in front of me, it falls away. And I think that that experience built a lot of empathy for me that people do the best they can.
Mhm.
But feeling steady and a solid foundation, and being able to set your roots and feeling that you belong and you're connected to something bigger than yourself, I think can really help bring that to the foreground. So yes, I love food. I love cooking. I love growing food. But I think more than that, I love just feeling connected. And
Mhm.
food is one way we do that.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
eat it 3 times a day. And so if we can be eating food from the place we live, the air we breathe, the water we drink, the place where we connect with our neighbors, that's a beautiful thing. And I
Absolutely.
think it's a really tangible, physical way to build that sense of belonging.
Yeah, and people look forward to that. I mean, I look forward to eating out with friends or happy hours or
Yes.
just that connection.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like we're all made of the same stuff. So it's like if I'm eating food that's coming from the land where I live, or even, 100-mile radius, what a wonderful way to connect
Mhm.
to your sense of place.
Yes. It's like just another way of getting grounded. I've never thought about it
Exactly.
like that.
Yeah.
But like what you eat can really ground you as well because it's all
Yes.
energy.
It's all
Yep.
energy, and we're all made of, the same types of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen.
Mhm.
And if we're, taking ours from where we are and connecting with our terroir, in other countries, it's a huge deal
Yep.
to eat your local food and your local cuisine. And in America, we're such a young country. I wouldn't say we necessarily have a food culture. And, but by comparison to the
Mhm.
old world.
Yep.
And I think that we can build that. And so you're getting in touch with your terroir when you're eating wild foods, when you're eating domestic foods that you grow. There's going to be these micro nuances because of what's in your soil, exactly where you are. And I think that's really special.
Yeah. And we're tearing up our soil in this country.
In every country,
Yeah.
honestly. I mean, it's worldwide.
Yeah.
And it's again, I've built so much empathy. 3 years ago I would have gone in and gone on a rampage about how people are so unaware, but I don't think that's it. I think we feel trapped by the system that's in place because of how many mouths there are to feed,
Yeah.
and because of how few people understand where their food comes from and the importance of where their food comes from. So I sort of, I came into this lifestyle being pretty critical of our system.
Mhm.
And now I'm in it with so much empathy and love and understanding. And it's kind of a different way that I've begun to approach it, which surprised myself actually.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
way more positive. So
Yeah,
that's great.
yeah, it is. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know if it's like quite as like there's quite as much energy behind, or maybe there is. Love probably operates at a lot higher energy than like frustration and criticism. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. What makes you feel grateful and full of joy today?
Today, there's so many things. The sun shining, the flexibility of my life to
Mm.
be with my kids, the support of my family to be able to go drop my kids off to be here with you,
Mhm.
my husband for really, picking up and go showing up and working every day off of our farm so we can build our dreams, of our farm to have a place to connect. I feel grateful for my health, mentally, physically,
Mhm.
a stable, comfortable home so that those base necessities are met and grounded. So I have the capacity to reach out and branch out once again. Um, so yeah, so many things. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I love it.
Thank
And
you.
it's so great to just sit and appreciate those things, right? I mean, even just the sun shining here. I mean, it's spring, and so we're
Yes.
just finally things are going to start blooming soon, and
Oh,
that is probably one of my biggest things. And I think it took me a little while to realize that how free I was. Right?
yes.
Like freedom is the emotion that I'm seeking, but it took
Yes.
me a while to, oh, I am free to be able to go pick up my kids from school. That's
Yes.
freedom.
It
Even though
is.
it probably doesn't feel like it when you're sitting in the school line,
Right.
right? But
Yes.
it is freedom. It's the freedom to take them to the doctor
Hmm.
because I don't have to go ask a boss
Yes.
if I can get off work. So,
Right.
I mean, the joys of
Well, and the
entrepreneurship.
perspective of it,
Yeah.
right? So, like,
Yes.
you can have all these freedoms, but if you don't have an awareness of
Mhm.
the good in your life
Right.
by practicing gratefulness,
Right.
you'll always feel trapped by
Yeah.
something.
And you're going to be mad sitting in the school line.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yes.
so I do feel, a few years ago that was a goal, and I have that now.
Yeah.
And I now see that, like, okay, well, I've reached that, but the cost has been, well, Cliff's working full time off farm, so I
Right.
really missed him. And so that's why I think sort of these dreams are always a moving target,
Yeah.
right? Because you don't always see the flip side of those coins when you're setting those targets.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I just feel so grateful. This morning we woke up and we went and checked on new lambs, and we spent probably an hour outside in the sunshine because,
Beautiful.
yeah, with the kids, and it was just slow and quiet and beautiful. And what a gift.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that is probably one of his dreams and your dreams is to have him just working on the farm full time.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yes, true. That is one
Yes.
of our other dreams, is that we're both supported financially and otherwise by our farm.
Awesome. Yep. Love supporting small businesses.
Yes,
Amazing. All right. You ready for the next
I'm
question?
ready.
Okay. What are the most significant lessons you've learned in life and how they shaped you as a person?
Gosh, there are just so very many. And now that I'm at a place of, I'm living at a pace of life that feels really good, which is a big slowdown from
Mhm.
the pace that I was living, most people live. I think that's another thing I'm grateful for. And also, another thing that is a dream of ours is to just live a slow, mindful life. And so I think about these things a lot,
Mhm.
and I have the luxury to think about these things a lot. One of the biggest ones was a college professor who said half of life is just showing up.
Mhm.
And I love that for so many reasons, because at different points in my life that's looked different. And sometimes it looks like just physically getting my body somewhere,
Yeah.
like to class.
Yeah.
In college, it was like, okay, just get to class and then you've done half the work,
Right.
right? Sometimes it's as simple as just move my body to the garden, and then I will know exactly what needs to do that day
Mhm.
or to be done, instead of sitting inside and thinking about what needs to be done in the
Right.
garden and then just overanalyzing and overthinking. And other times it's like, show up mentally, emotionally, be there, see your kids and their needs, see your needs, make a routine for yourself. Last year I was sort of like pulling myself out of a depression, and it was like the act of showing up for myself looked so different
Right.
than
Like
it
getting
doesn't.
rest.
Just, yeah, like just half of life is just showing up, right? So that one was really huge. The other big one, I suppose, is to be the change you wish to see in the world.
Mhm.
And another one that's fed me differently at different times. And now I see it as like embody the energy of the life you desire, right?
100%.
And for the greater world and also for your own. And I love that phrase because it's be the change. Don't talk about the change. Don't read about the change. Don't preach about the change. Be it,
Yeah.
embody it. So that's a huge one. And just, I don't know, just being humble. There's just so much I've learned. The move from comfortable to kind of pursuing this dream, which when we moved was kind of a different dream than it is now.
Yeah.
There's some overlap, but was just so humbling. And I think, I guess if I had to summarize that, it would be um, the more you learn, the less you know.
Yeah.
And that I could have, rattled off all these facts about farming and the impact on the environment, but until I actually got in and started to do it, I didn't know anything,
Yeah.
and so my definition of knowing has changed.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I just feel like there's so much to learn, and so much to be had in the world. And yeah, that's been a huge one as
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
Well, and you can tell that you're already doing that with the idea of you not coming in here and saying, these are all the things that our government and our FDA is doing wrong. You're
Yes.
coming in here saying, I have peace with what's going on.
Yeah.
I'm going to be the change by having a farm and by helping all of the people in the Kansas
Right.
City area with their nutrition. And eventually, you're going to have an online store so people
Right.
can order things from you
Yeah.
and possibly even send them out of state, right?
Right. And like, I mean, even just balance, and I think that what I also learned is like I could do all these things to try to save the world, right? That was always sort of my goal, like environmental, I'm gonna save this planet.
Yeah.
Me, Lindsey Bennett,
One person.
single-handedly, I am going to do all these things because I just love nature so much. And jumping in and getting us started, I also realized I'm going to burn myself out, and I'm not going to be there for my kids, and I'm not going to be there for myself.
Yourself. Yep.
And that's not a pace of life I want.
Right.
And I think that it's important to balance your own personal needs.
Right.
And then within your own personal needs, balance like body, mind, and spirit. And that balance piece is so huge. And it kind of happens in these concentric circles. You balance for yourself, you balance for your family, you balance for your farm, you balance your impact, rippling out.
Yep.
But you can't pour from an empty cup.
Right.
And you can pour from an angry cup, but it probably won't pour as far.
Yeah.
And so, I think a lot of people know about issues, and especially on social media, they love to share about issues.
Right.
And then kind of send out these rally cries. And I'm not against that, but I do find it a bit frustrating how much, gabbing there is compared to the amount of just kind of living these ideals in your life.
Well, the negative rabbit holes.
Yes.
I mean, I always say, like, I like to live in my own little oblivion. I don't
Yeah.
watch the news.
Yeah.
Because if I watched the news, I would be doing this
Yeah.
about all the crappy things that are
Right.
going on in the world because they're not talking about good stuff.
Right.
So I just like my little bubble that I
Yeah.
live in.
And I mean, I think that, I read this book in college called The Fine Balance, and it's about like, it's good to be aware of these issues
Mhm.
without letting them overtake you.
Yes.
And I think, so much is like showing up, loving your neighbor,
Yeah.
being kind to all people. To me, that goes so much further than sharing or resharing, repeated rhetoric about XYZ,
Right.
whether it's farming or racial injustice or whatever. That said, I think it is important for, people to be aware. So it's tricky, but I'm like you, I sort of like, I find that if I watch the news, I am so overtaken and overwhelmed that I kind of shut down.
Yeah.
And right now in this season, it's not good for me. It's not good for my personal health. So I don't.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think, balance is
Yes.
huge.
Yes. And I think knowing too that just our brains are built to go to the negative. Like that's
Yeah.
just when humans are
Fear.
hardwired,
Right.
yes,
Sure.
to go to
Yes.
that. And so I think just knowing that helps you stay, if you can, on the positive side
Right.
of things. So that way it's like you don't let that negativity take over. And then
Right.
of course the news is just one of those things, right? Like I get my news kind of fed to me how I want it fed to me
Sure.
instead of going and just watching news at 9 o'clock in the morning every
Right.
morning. Because I
Yes.
used to do that too.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and I think that, by taking your information as you like it, and then what I do is I take this much information
Mhm.
and then I research for hours.
Yeah.
And then I'm able to build my own conclusion. But at this season of my life, spending that much time on these things that
Yeah.
don't have an impact on my daily life and my kids and the change I want to see in the world
Yeah.
just doesn't feel very,
Productive.
yeah, productive or
Yeah.
aligned or any of it, you know? And I think when we moved here, I felt so determined, like, okay, we're out to prove something. We made this change. We moved from Colorado. Everyone's already a little bit like, what the heck are you doing? You know? And I thought, oh, I need to go in and just like be so successful and do this. And then I felt myself burning out
Yeah.
and I felt exhausted. And we had this looming house project. And then we had a baby on the way. And it was like, oh my gosh, this is not actually what I want.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
isn't it. And like, and checking in with yourself
Yeah.
and letting it be okay that these things change, I think is so important. So that's been a huge, huge lesson.
Yeah. Awesome.
Scaling back to address, you know, who we are right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it changes, just like we talked about at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Dreams change.
Yeah.
Visions change.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's all about our path.
Yeah.
And figuring out our why, so that way we can just go straight towards that,
Yes.
even though we're going to do this.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. Next question.
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
What inspires and motivates you to keep going even when faced with challenges?
I think right now, gosh, this is a really hard one. Again, it's been such a dynamic few years. And I think I can hear the Lindsay of 2 years ago and the answer that she would give,
Yeah.
but
Let's
I
do a
would
compare and
say,
contrast.
okay. So before, what inspired me was what's best for the environment.
Yep.
Right. And not that that doesn't still inspire me,
Yep.
but I also now see that I can't put that above myself and my own needs and my family's needs. So now I think it's my kids and it's our family life and our balance and our peace and that above all else right now. Raising kids is such a snippet of life, but it's the foundation for theirs. And so right now that's hugely the focus of my life. And for me, making those things align and fit and feel good with the balance of growing our own food, keeping our kids healthy, fostering this community of connection with food, with each other is what keeps me going. And but last year when I was in a depression, what kept me going was that I had to take care of my kids.
Yeah.
And I just needed to get up, make breakfast, do the laundry, like the basic things. So I think it can change, and it's really important to give yourself grace, but also be aware of who you are at this moment. And if you are sacrificing all of your well-being to meet this higher ideal, maybe that's not the best right now.
Yeah.
And I think probably will be a time in a few years when my kids are older that, maybe that motivating factor changes. But right now, I think it's just kind of building that world that I want for my kids to grow up in.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you said that. You're building their foundation, even though it's feels like a snippet for you. It's not for them.
It's
right.
Not.
It is. It's literally creating
Yeah.
exactly who they're going to be.
It's their root.
Yeah.
Their first 7 years of life are so important, and it's building that security and confidence of who they're going to be in the world and what they expect of the world.
Yeah.
And I just have this really special opportunity. And it's been conscious, and part of it's because I have such a great family support system and I have such a wonderful partner that we're able to do this. And I feel so blessed that we can.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I love that story. And just the more peace you can create with them, right?
Yeah.
I just love it. And I think that people don't realize the thing, I had my 16-year-old drive off for the first time the other day. And it's just I know, I just got him too. And it's whew, okay, yeah. I have for the last 16 years, I have been able to kind of pretty much control where she goes, what she does. And then all of a sudden she drives off and doesn't come home till 9 o'clock that night. I mean, she stopped back in a couple times, but it was okay, I got to go somewhere again. I have this freedom.
Yeah.
And it's this freedom that they have now is just so scary. It's
oh my gosh, I can't imagine.
It's just the weirdest thing. So yes, that will change.
Yes.
Because I am have my youngest is 6 now.
Right.
And it's he's already going and playing with friends like none other. And so most evenings I'm sitting here.
Right.
And so it's okay,
Right.
So you do, it definitely changes,
Yeah.
but then it does need to be about you, right? And
Yes.
that's the biggest thing I think for most moms is like just getting to this place of, yes, I have my children, I love them, but
Mhm.
like you said, pouring from an empty cup, you have to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
You have to have those date nights with your husband. You
Mhm.
have to do the things that are going to, in the long run, support
Yes.
them and build that foundation as well.
Yeah.
So it's
I
like,
mean, I guess
it's just,
another life lesson is it's always changing,
yeah,
and nothing is permanent. Like this too shall pass.
yeah,
The happy moments too.
yeah.
So not clinging on too tightly to this season of my life, but
Mhm.
being fully present when I'm in it
Yep.
so that I don't regret it. And I don't try to cling on because I wasn't present then.
Right.
I think that I see that in a lot of people. I've seen it in myself at some points that, the best way, even like living seasonally in tune with nature.
Yeah.
Well, in wintertime, stop wishing it's summer. Let yourself winter,
Right.
right? Just rest.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
eat those warm, full, like grounding foods.
And red wine.
And when it's summertime,
Yep.
do summer.
Yep.
Go all out, and I think it's the same with parenthood, right? Like in the seasons of parenthood. Right now I'm in the young kid phase,
Yep.
right? So we don't go out a lot and stuff right now
Yep.
because there will be a time where we'll be embracing that next step,
Yeah.
and I think that's just huge. Like radical presence of where you are
Mhm.
with the awareness that it's inevitably going to change. Like
Yes.
this will not last forever.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Such good conversation. Okay, you ready for
Yeah.
next? What do you hope to leave behind as your legacy? And sometimes I kind of have a
Mhm.
little caveat to this question as
Okay.
well. It's the idea of what do you want people to say about you at your funeral?
Okay. So I think I'm going to start with the second part. I would want people to say, and I'm thinking of my kids,
Yeah.
because they spend so much time with me,
Yeah.
that I'm warm
Mhm.
and loving, a big heart, and hopefully that I really see them,
Yeah.
and that they felt seen and loved in spite of however they showed up
Mhm.
that day.
Yeah.
So I hope that's
Two
what my
teenage
kids.
girls.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I know. Two girls, Scorpio rising, both of them too. So
Yeah.
they'll give me a time. But I hope that's what they say. I think that, that will be the insider perspective. I think a more outsider perspective would say, charismatic. I think I quite charming often is like
Mhm.
when other people meet me. Big love for nature, of course.
Of course.
Good cook, all of these things. I think that will be part of it. And I guess I hope the legacy that I leave is kind of a blueprint for sustainable living.
Mhm.
And not just in the environmental sense of like our physical space and how we use it and, how plants grow and the balance of our little micro ecosystem we're building on our farm.
Yeah.
But even in terms of like mental, physical health, like a sustainable life, a pace that's sustainable, and a lifestyle that's sustainable is what I hope will be the legacy. And I imagine the way that that will play out most is in the way my kids choose to live their lives and the pieces that, the things they know how to do just without knowing, having to learn it just because it's what their life was.
Right. Yeah. It just comes natural.
It just comes natural. And they don't know how they know it. They don't know how, I'm hoping my girls don't know how they know to make bread. They don't know how they know to grow a garden, but it's just part of living.
Yep.
And so I imagine my biggest legacy will be the way my kids choose to live their lives.
Yep.
But I hope that can trickle beyond my immediate circle as well.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So would you say that you guys with your farm are able
Mhm.
to eat completely from your farm?
Definitely
Or is
not.
that a goal? Or is that
It was a goal.
Mhm.
So it used to be a goal to be 100% self-sustaining.
Mhm.
And as we approached that, or not, we didn't approach it, but we, headed in that direction.
Yeah.
And I kind of think of goals or like dreams as like a hike, and you see that peak and you're like, I'm headed there. And you get started and you have to start.
Trip on a rock.
First of all, you have to start.
Yeah.
Right? You
Show
can't
up.
just keep studying the map or keep looking at the peak. Like
Right.
you have to start the walk. And then you might realize, oh wow, a tree fell down there from a blowdown. Okay, I'm gonna go around it. Oh, now I get closer and I see that this is a cliff face. I have to go way around here.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a moving target. So when we started, yes, that was the goal.
Yeah.
Now I would say that's evolved to my dream is to have like a local food economy of about 100 miles.
Hmm.
If I can get my food grown in a, regenerative, sustainable, organic, fill in the buzzword
Yeah.
way,
Yeah.
but that's a way that's friendly to the earth and healthy for my body, because there's not these like chemical additives, right?
Hmm.
Then that's what I want. So with the mercantile opening, this is the dream that we have this general store that is a quality standard set by us that meets our standards for eating.
Yeah.
And we're partnering with like slow craft producers,
Mhm.
other growers, that share our values. And our neighbors and us can
Mhm.
go to one place and get a lot of these things.
Right.
There are things you can't get here, right?
Yeah.
Like olives don't grow here. So
Yeah.
if I want to eat olive oil, I can't have that here,
Right.
right? But there are so many things that you can. So it was the goal, but now it's still sort of the goal.
Yeah.
But I also see that like if I tried to do all of that for myself, I'd be exhausted and
Yeah.
probably pretty cranky.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be present with my kids and I wouldn't be
Absolutely.
able to slow down. So yeah, so I do, I want to grow what we can within reason. And then I want to partner with all the amazing neighbors we have who are doing incredible things, and work with them as well.
Yeah. I love that. I would love so much to say that I went to the grocery store and spent like $30. But then I went over to Lindsay's farm and
Yeah.
spent $100, like,
Yes, it's
and
a
then,
balance.
yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
right.
I
And like
mean,
rice, rice does grow in Missouri, but it grows in the boot heel.
yeah.
So it grows really far. So one day I would love to find a grower in the boot heel and get rice sent up here,
Yeah.
right? And I want to build that over time where I can have a regionally, resilient
Yeah.
food system
Yeah.
is my dream.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Love it. And you're so close. I love
Yeah.
that. What is one action that you take every day to get closer to your dreams?
I love this. In a really tangible sense, go outside,
Hmm.
right? Like show up,
Yep.
and be in the physical space that I'm working with. And some days it feels like we make no progress and I just go around in circles or I pick up crying children.
Mhm.
And other days we make great progress, but I need to be out there and be participating in the physical space.
Right.
One more metaphysical way is by this, Gandhi quote, be the change you wish to see in the world.
Yeah.
So taking a deep breath, meditating, grounding myself, and being present and mindful of my moment is huge.
Yeah.
And bringing myself into like the energy of where I see myself down the road, but in this moment.
Yes.
So kind of like a moving, living meditation, I would say is something that we do to do that. And then, also just like practicing hygge, like the Danish way of like knowing in the moment how special the moment is, right?
Yeah.
When you're having this great moment with your kids in the garden, like pause, feel yourself in your body in this moment,
Yeah.
and realize how good it is. I think all of those are helping us get closer to our dream.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even just sitting there and noticing it is like you're sitting in that feeling of the ultimate feeling that you want to have, anyways. So
Exactly.
that's just part of it.
Yeah.
I know here lately because I meditate every day, sometimes
Mhm.
2 or 3 times a day, because I
Mhm.
just like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
not being as productive as I could be. I'm gonna go meditate.
Yeah.
And so I think that I want to teach my 6-year-old how to meditate.
Yeah.
I think I haven't done it yet, but I'm
Yeah.
thinking about like just looking up some YouTube videos
Yeah.
to help him meditate, because it might be able to ask him some questions that I don't know about.
Right.
Because he lives in this like fight or fight all the
Sure.
time.
Right.
At school, at home,
Yeah.
everywhere he goes. The poor little guy is just always like that.
Sure. Wound
And
up
so,
and like, yeah.
yes,
Mhm.
very much so.
Mabel has a
And
nervous temperament like that too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that I can get, and we joked about it the other day. I was sitting here, I was like, like, and he would do it just for a second, and then he'd
Yeah.
laugh, of
Right.
course. But I think if I could get him to meditate, it would calm his mind a little
Yeah.
bit. So that is definitely one of my goals here in
Yeah.
the near future.
You know what I find helps Mabel the most is being outside.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I'll just do what I said in my head, but
Mhm.
what like out loud, like I'll take a deep breath and say, wow, isn't it just such a beautiful day? And it sort of snaps them out.
Yeah.
And then they look around and they say, oh, wow, I see a bird here. I see, and even just sort of like bringing them into the present moment and
Yeah.
in their bodies is really an amazing thing, and then, they practice it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily look like our meditation.
Yeah.
But I do think that's a form of it,
Mhm.
just being present and in touch with the world around them
Yep.
instead of like reacting to the world around them,
Right.
which I think a lot of kids do,
Yeah.
So yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We focus a lot on sunrises and sunsets.
Oh, yes.
Because
I love
I mean,
it.
who can't see the beauty in that? If you
Right.
can't see the beauty in a sunrise or sunset,
Oh,
we gotta talk.
yeah, exactly. Right. Yes.
Yeah. All right. So, is there anything else that you just want to share with the listeners today?
Um, I think just, be consistent. Keep showing up for yourself.
Mhm.
I think the ticket is um building that consistency over time really pays off. And it's okay if there's a hiatus. Like we just took basically a 2-year break.
Yep.
And now the nuances of our dreams have changed and evolved. But I think they're really just getting more specific. Like if that's the peak, we're just getting closer and we're seeing
Yeah.
like, oh, actually, that's what it looks like,
Yeah.
And so be consistent, stay the course, check in with yourself. But it's you never know until you start, right? You
Right.
have to get in it and start doing it to know where the direction's going to go. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So I think my two, like, just very, very, like, concise takeaways from that:
Hmm.
show up and appreciate where you are right now.
Yeah. Yes. Love it. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Such
This
a
was
great
great.
conversation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.